You take a deep inhalation. Exhale completely. Dropping our shoulders with the exhalation. Opening our eyes, bringing our arms up. Adjust here a little bit. So I want you to have your arms up and bring them slightly back, palms facing upward, fingers are touching, and that's your inhalation. On the exhalation, you make a fist with the thumb outside. Just inhale, exhale, exhale. Arch your mid-spine slightly. Feel the breath moving through you. Feel the third chakra, your solar plexus, really engaged. Bringing the energy into your heart center. While we're actually working our fingers to release blood to our brain. And it's also great to prevent arthritis. So if you feel like a little stiffness in our hands, this is a great thing to do. It's not that comfortable after a little bit, but we want to hang in there. Yeah, compared to other situations in our lives outside of us, this is really easy to maintain and to keep up for the well-being of our health. So I want us to just do one more minute. If you feel like you're losing control over your fingers and you get a little arthritis, you want to do this for longer than a minute and a half. You want to do it at least for 2 to 7 minutes at home. And you never start with 7 minutes. You just work up to it. So keep it up a little bit more. Just a little tiny bit more. Good. Inhale through the open mouth. Bring your fist now towards your shoulders. And then I want you to exhale and pushing your arms out to side. Inhale nose, exhale open mouth. Close your eyes, move powerfully. You really want to remove any tension from your neck. You want to purify your blood. Powerfully exhale. I'm a little space restricted this afternoon, so you straighten both of your arms. Make space for your heart in this posture. You know, like Nirmala said, the situation in our nation is really devastating. Yes, when one can deal with it with going into denial or not feeling anything anymore. Yeah, but this will not change anything. So we need to stay open. We need to face the reality with an open heart, not getting entangled, but staying involved with life. And that those that are not in a heavy situation really can share the light. Just a little bit more. Good. Inhale. Exhale, bring the arms forward. Keep the fist, thumbs outside, and just move your arms, straight arms, circular motion. Both breath are through the nostrils now. Work the muscles and bones under your breast. The last thing we want to be is numb, getting numb to the reoccurrence, what happens in our schools and in our communities, yeah? To the Black community, to the elders, to our children. We cannot get numb. So we need to allow our heart to feel and to be open, literally being broken open. I want to do one more minute here. Keep it up, keep it up. Last 15 seconds. Good, inhale deeply. Now bring one arm up, one down, and exhale. Really forceful, really use your power. You know, I was really angry last week when I heard from the shooting. I was so angry, I was so pissed, I was like so annoyed, I could hardly be with myself. So and the only thing that helped me through was moving and breathing and regulating myself, allowing myself to feel everything that I felt, but then also being responsible and coming back to my own sanity as much as possible. Yeah, so in breathing and moving are our tools. And I think they work really quick. So for this movement with your frustration or whatever energy you're experiencing, and just get it out, express it instead of holding it in or suppressing it. Thirty seconds. Inhale and hold your breath. Hold the fist, hold the arms up, suspend the breath, hold it. Palms facing now upward. Exhale. Now inhale here. Exhale and sweep behind. Inhale just to keep your arms parallel. Don't drop them down. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. As if you want to wash your spirit clean and putting things into the past so that we can be present in the moment. This posture is a great metaphor. 30 seconds. You can do this. Good, and bring your hands back. Now stay in this posture. Inhale deeply, exhale, open mouth. 2 more times. Last round. Good, we're resting our right hand on top of our left, in our lap. And I just want to end with a pranayama. And Jeunesse, that's such a beautiful, you know what you shared, the infinity life, rebirth and death, yeah, what you went through with your husband. So the Satanama is the infinity life, death, rebirth, the wheel of life. So I just want us to mentally recite Sa, Ta, Na, Ma on the inhalation. Then we suspend the breath for Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. We exhale, mentally reciting Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, holding the breath out for the recitation of Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. So it's always inhaling Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, holding the breath in, exhaling Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, holding the breath out. It's like a square. Now I want you to really imagine the infinity life and death and rebirth we all are going through all the time, every moment. So just rest your right hand on top of the left, tip of your thumbs are touching so that you balance your fire. And just for 2 minutes, we all close our eyes, mentally reciting the Sa, Ta, Na, Ma on the inhalation, suspending the breath, reciting Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Mentally reciting Sa, Ta, Na, Ma on the exhalation, holding the breath out for Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. Now you continue at your own pace. And slowly come to an end. Regulate your breath. Bring your hands into receptive mode so the palms are facing upward. And then Nirmala takes it from here.
Thank you, Siddhi. I just want to say that that blue on you that you're wearing, I don't know if I've ever seen you in that exact blue. It's so, I felt like I was falling into the ocean when I would look at you, just falling into you. It's so yummy. Yummy. In your travel clothes, you've managed to, that's good. Good packing. Impressive. Welcome, ladies. A couple of announcements, and then we're going to have a really juicy topic today. The first is a reminder to calendar our retreat, our in-person retreat for January 21st, 22nd, 23rd of 2023. It will be in California, and we will give you the location soon. And it's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So just wanting to remind you of that for your calendars. And then also Siddhi and Brenda are offering a class that has been announced both on our email and also on WhatsApp. It begins tomorrow morning, not tomorrow, Monday morning. So just letting you know about that. Do one of you want to speak to that? Or Siddhi or Brenda?
I think Brenda can talk to it.
Just a brief. Brenda.
Good morning, everyone. Siddhi and I are excited to offer a stretch and strength class beginning Monday morning. It's for 1 hour only, 7 to 8. And if you're not able to join us for 5 Mondays in a row, it will be recorded and we'll share it with you to have for a couple of days. So please join us. It'll be fun.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, nothing like, I mean, the combination of the stretching, which we should be doing every day, and strengthening, which is the tool to us having agility as we age. We have to stay strong. All right, so today I want to talk a little bit about criticism today and how we receive that, and actually even how we offer that. Primarily because I find that criticism is one of the things that brings up so many different emotions in us. When somebody criticizes us or comments about something we've said or done in a way that is less than flattering, we tend to have a spiral around it. Most of us have a difficult time handling that. And because we are on this spiritual growth journey that we are on, there's a really important piece to our awareness and our integration of body, mind, spirit in tackling how it is that we handle criticism and what that's indicating to us in our system. So some of us are very, what would appear to be very thick-skinned, and you'll say, well, that, no, she or he may never get bothered by that. And the truth is that some of those really deep-seated feelings of unworthiness or inadequacy actually don't rise in some people. So you think it's not bothering them, but it may actually be bothering them on a much deeper level. And perhaps they maybe have already done the work around this and it really isn't bothering them. But most of us are more sensitive to criticism. And even if we're able to just give it a fleeting piece of attention and move on, it still strikes us that we hear something that isn't in the light of how we'd like to be received and to be heard and to be treasured. We feel a little, something comes up for us, and then we have an opportunity to look at that. So I want to talk about how that is in us. The first thing that's important for us to recognize is that when we simply say, I hear people say all the time, just disregard what somebody else says. If they're having an issue with you, it's their problem, not yours. Just forget about it. And the truth is that no matter how many times you tell your mind and your body and your awareness, just forget about it, we don't forget about it. If there's any residual piece of us that has a concern for how others feel about us, we don't just dismiss it. Usually we have a reaction. You'll see this in, typically in teenagers, when you try to give them some constructive criticism, it never works out that well because they're learning how to differentiate themselves and figure out who they are. So their natural response is defensiveness. And you'll notice in people, when you even offer what you think is a very useful tidbit of of criticism or just observation, that it will go the gamut from being well received and someone saying, oh, thank you, I really appreciate that. I'm not sure they do or not, but they'll say that, to people who are apt to just blow up. They go crazy or they go silent. Those two things tend to happen more often. And so the inquiry for us right now is, what is our emotional response to criticism, and how does that give us information about ourselves? If we're going to be on this journey and we want to be clean on this journey, we want to be able to rise up to all situations. And criticism is going to be an ongoing opportunity for us to tweak how our emotional stability is actually working out in our life. So one of the common themes around criticism, particularly for our generation, my generation on this call, is that we were trained in our childhood to care about what other people thought. Parents, teachers, elders, authority. And when our voices or our behavior did not line up with that authority, we were punished and we were made to feel less about ourselves. And in more modern psychology, what we're of course teaching to our children and what's heard in the world now is that you bifurcate the action from the person. So the action might be inappropriate or bad, but the person isn't. But we weren't raised that way. We were raised to identify all of our actions and our opinions as part of us. That's us, who we are in the world. And when that is disregarded, or somebody says it's not accurate, or it's whatever, judgment against it, we would immediately turn that back onto ourselves. The need for approval, love, and belonging is one of the key ingredients to the hierarchy of our needs for survival. The Maslow's teachings of shelter, food, water, and approval, love, and belonging are the key ingredients for how we will survive in our environment. If you remove one or all of those, our ability to cope with survival decreases. So as important as food and water and shelter is in an obvious way, our need for approval, love, and belonging is really high up there for how it is that we feel we can function into the world. So we'll see this when somebody is threatened by losing love or approval, that they may even abandon some of their other survival needs in order to keep that love and approval. We see this in dysfunctional relationships all the time, that people will stand for behavior from someone else that is completely inappropriate or not healthy for us in order to still stay in their love and their approval, which when we're healthy, we would say isn't even actually love and approval, but that's how we're perceiving it. And it's so important to us to belong to a community, to belong to a family, to belong to friends. We need a community to belong to. We're not individuals in a way that we want to solely operate on our own. We get our reflection of ourselves and our context for our life through others. That's how we are in relationship. So let's take a look at what can happen when somebody gives us some negative feedback, or what we perceive as being negative feedback. One of the things that we do is to simply dismiss it and say, well, they don't know what they're talking about and I don't really care. And if that's really true for you, fabulous, great. Then you really have already moved through that and it really isn't pinging you. But if you're really just saying that to try and decrease your reaction, we are using that to engage a distancing behavior. We're trying to create a distance between us and the situation. And simply pushing something away from us does not address the underlying issue, which has given rise to that feeling. We want to see, why is it that when somebody says something, are we able to take a look and be in awareness and say, what you are contributing to me may or may not be helpful, but let me take a look at that in the calmness of myself, not in my heightened reaction to that. So when we distance ourselves by simply saying, well, it doesn't matter to me what other people think, two things happen. The first is that it takes us away from this heightened experience of being alive. Being alive is extremes as well as the middle way. We have the experience of being deeply loved and deeply let down, and we have the experience of being stable in the middle. We have all of these experiences. We do not live simply in a deadened middle space all the time. We have it's a teeter-totter. We have both ends, and that is an aliveness in us, it's not a negative. It's an aliveness of us being in the actual flow of life, which includes the grief and the celebration, the highs and the lows. All of that is the part and pieces, part and parcel of how it is that we live our lives. So we don't want to remove ourselves by becoming deadened or some degree separating ourselves from other. We talk a lot about in our spiritual journey about duality and not separating things out, allowing them to be part of the whole. So this is an opportunity for us when we are receiving someone's input to actually not separate from it, and then decide how much attention and what it might bring up in terms of any sort of refinement. Maybe there is something for us to learn in it, maybe there's not. It also gives us an opportunity to employ judgment in other. So if somebody is using criticism to diminish the value, my value, I have an opportunity to see that. I also have an opportunity to see that value is not, if somebody in my mind is not standing up to where I think they should be, and they offer me criticism, I don't have to receive that as being truth. But I need to be in my own critical awareness. I need to be employing discernment so that I can decide when something comes to me, is it something that I should actually listen to? Is it coming from a heart space and a place where I should actually be utilizing some of the pieces of it? Or should I be just allowing that this person is acting out and saying what may be true for them, but is not necessarily true for me? So some of the steps in addressing the issue of criticism that I want to go over briefly. Step one is acknowledging that we do care on some level, to some extent, about what others think, because we are in community. This is part of our wanting to belong. We actually care what other people think. And that's part of our living in community as one, having that weaving together of different viewpoints. That's part of what it means to be in community. So I don't want to dismiss what other people say, just flat out dismiss it if I don't like it. I want to be able to look a little deeper into it. And if I'm, another step in this is to recognize that if I'm hurt by something that someone says, that it may be an indication that there's a piece of me, a past wound that has not yet been addressed. So this is an opportunity for us to take a little deeper dive. What is this bringing up for me when someone says that? Is this a repetitive thing that I hear a lot and I want to take a look at? Or is it something else? But simply dismissing doesn't give us the opportunity to use this as a deepening tool, as a tool for us to really be receptive, discerning, and then take action. As we work on our awareness and our healing of ourselves, we want to be able to live in a place that is not reoccurring pain, not an open wound where someone keeps touching it, and every time they do, we go into a flare of discomfort. We don't want to live that way, but we also don't want to dismiss everything that bothers us and just close ourselves off. Just as Siddhi said to what has happened in our nation in this last week, we don't want to shut ourselves off to that, the power of that, because that is a place for us to be transforming and to be opening up and to be offering ourselves. Closing ourselves down to things that are painful or critical is not part of our spiritual growth. It's the opposite. So we want to be able to open our arms and take that which is happening and coming to us and use our discernment to figure out what is our piece in this. And we may not have a piece in it. That may be the action, is that this isn't mine. But until we're willing to stay open to it, we won't be able to discern that. One of the important things for us to do is to establish a practice of internal validation of our feelings, our truth. Because if we're dependent upon exterior and external validation for what we think and feel and know to be true, then every time that's shaken, we get shaken. The stronger our internal compass is and our internal knowing. So we want practices that support that. That's why we do our meditations and our other practices, is because we want to be able to be solid enough to know when incoming information comes, how it is we can respond, what is our responsibility, and what is ours to take, what pieces are ours and what pieces are not ours. So one of the things that we can do is to write a list about our strengths and the qualities that we like in ourselves, and be reminded of those when outside information comes in, to first validate ourselves for that which we have already practiced, because we have done a lot of work. And so to not acknowledge that is, and to first go to the default of what's wrong versus what's right. Let's start with what we've got right. And then that's our superpower. That's from where we can see the things that we still want to tweak, with a detachment of not panicking. We don't have to panic about it. We can say, I see that I'm a little triggered by this particular situation, but I have tools and I've been practicing with affirmations and with acknowledgement of where my strengths are, that I can handle this. We don't want to be beaten down by that which is incoming that's negative without first acknowledging that which is positive in ourselves. This journey is about self-discovery and taking responsibility of how we wish to deepen and respond to the external world. This is our spiritual journey. The external world is what pricks us and teases us and brings up that which we often don't want to look at. This is our opportunity to use it for our spiritual journey, to use it to deepen ourselves so that our hearts can stay cracked open 100% of the time, to be able to handle the compassion and the love that is necessary for us to offer into the world. We're here, we're mothers to the universe. If we don't offer ourselves continually to the world for healing and for lighter space, this is going to be a very difficult journey. Very difficult journey. One of the last things I want to mention is that if we're hypersensitive and reactive, to criticism, and I want to say reactive, where you either lash out or you rethink the situation, you replay what somebody said over and over and over again in your mind, that's being reactive to it. That means that we're really intricately tied into what somebody else thinks. And this may be a place where we're living our life in a state of self-criticism and hyper-perfectionism. How many of you out there want to say that you do utilize a bit of self-criticism and hyper-perfectionism? So when somebody else says something critical of you, you immediately go to all the ways that you're not perfect, all the ways that you can criticize yourself for whatever it is that you may be still broken with, that you're still working on. It's important for us to unpack this, because self-criticism and hyper-perfectionism is not the way we want to live in this journey. This is not the life we want to live out. This is not beautiful. So the last thing I want to say is that we do care about what other people think, because we want to belong to a community, to our family. We want to have confident and secure and beneficial conversations with people where we bring up things that are tricky. We want to learn how to communicate, receiving and giving communication that is helpful to the deepening of our spirit journey, because we want to live our life from a place of balance and health and inquiry, rather than from a place of defensiveness, anger, or fear. So we need to take a look at this, ladies. We need to use these opportunities when incoming observations, criticism, statements about us are made, that this is an opportunity for us to really utilize that as a tool for us to go deeper into our journey. Good luck.
We need it. It requires practice for sure. Let's rub our palms, come into prayer pose, and stay in prayer pose, please.
Om
And just for a moment, breathing into the jewel of our heart. We're closing our session with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Inhale deeper. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for joining in our virtual space and in our heart space. Have a beautiful weekend.